The day my life split in two started like any other ceremony. I stood in the central plaza of Halcyon Prime beneath the twin suns, uniform pressed, insignia polished, prepared to receive recognition for another successful border operation. I had given 12 years to the Vanguard fleet. 12 years of loyalty. 12 years of sacrifice. Then my face appeared above the plaza on a massive holodisplay, and a single word followed it: traitor. The crowd fell silent as encrypted transmissions filled the air, evidence claiming I had authorized enemy access to coalition defense grids. I didn't understand what I was looking at. The codes were mine. The clearance was mine. But I had never sent those orders. Before I could speak, security surrounded me. In less than 60 seconds, my career, my reputation, and my freedom were gone. They held me beneath the ministry in a sterile chamber designed for those who threatened the state. The room was white, quiet, controlled. I replayed every decision I'd made over the past month, searching for a breach in my own memory. There was none. Commander Ilarasan from intelligence visited me personally. Her expression was composed, almost sympathetic. She claimed the biometric confirmations were undeniable: retinal scans, command signatures, encrypted authorization codes. Everything pointed to me. I told her the data had been manipulated. She didn't argue. She just reminded me that very few people had access to systems capable of such manipulation. And that implication settled heavily in the room. Cashin was the only one who looked me in the eye when he visited. He tried to hide it, but I saw the uncertainty there. He had reviewed the evidence himself. He had seen my codes embedded in the breach logs. I told him to look deeper. To question the timing. To compare the footage to verified location records. I had been in a public ceremony during one of the access timestamps. Hundreds of witnesses. Something didn't align. Before he left, he pressed a small data chip into my hand. It contained fragments he wasn't supposed to have. It was the first sign that someone still believed in me. The tribunal moved quickly. Too quickly. 3 justiciars presided over the hearing, their faces unreadable as projections of fabricated proof filled the chamber. They showed surveillance footage of someone with my likeness accessing restricted terminals. The walk was close, but not exact. The posture slightly wrong. The timing inconsistent. I requested raw data access. It was denied. Within hours, the verdict was delivered. Guilty of treason. Sentence: permanent exile beyond the outer colonies. They stripped my rank in front of the assembly. But they couldn't strip the truth. The transport vessel was automated, silent, efficient. I sat restrained in a narrow metallic cabin, staring at the stars stretching beyond the viewport. I examined the data chip Cashin had given me. Embedded within the breach logs were overlapping timestamps that placed me in 2 locations at once. Impossible. There were also encryption signatures that suggested identity replication technology, tools reserved for intelligence directorate operations. That was when the suspicion sharpened into something solid. Someone had mirrored my command identity. And only intelligence had the capability. Exile delivered me to Carthos 9, a mining world forgotten by the coalition. Dust covered everything. Abandoned extraction rigs rusted under a pale sky. The settlement that remained was small, wary, and self-sufficient. Most people recognized me immediately from news broadcasts. They kept their distance. Only Tamsin Hale approached. She had once worked in coalition engineering before walking away. She didn't treat me like a criminal. She offered me work repairing outdated systems in exchange for shelter. It was the first step toward rebuilding. Using Tamsin's improvised terminal, I studied the metadata deeper. The routing signatures pointed toward a secure intelligence relay used during high-level security drills. One drill in particular stood out, supervised personally by Commander Ilarasan just days before the breach. The timing was precise. Too precise. If the breach had been orchestrated internally, framing a decorated fleet captain would create fear. Fear justifies expanded authority. It was strategic. Calculated that we constructed a narrowband transmitter capable of slipping beneath standard coalition surveillance thresholds. I encoded a message to Cashin, embedding the proof fragments we had uncovered. Then we waited. Weeks passed. During that time, I worked alongside miners, repaired water recyclers, and defended the settlement from raiders. Exile taught me more about the coalition's blind spots than command ever had. News eventually reached us. Intelligence had expanded emergency powers in response to the breach. Surveillance had intensified across the core systems. One evening, a stealth shuttle descended beyond the ridge. Cashin stepped out, thinner and more cautious than I remembered. He admitted he had doubted me at first. But the sealed intelligence access logs and inconsistencies were too numerous to ignore. He brought additional files, an authorization signed by Illyra approving identity replication tech deployment. That was the confirmation. The pieces fit. Returning openly would mean immediate arrest. Instead, we developed an infiltration plan using obsolete infrastructure schematics Tamsin had once helped design. We would enter Halcyon Prime beneath its polished surface. Access the intelligence core. Retrieve the unaltered breach records. It was high risk. But it was the only path left. The Undercity was a labyrinth of forgotten maintenance corridors and industrial shafts. Pipes lined the walls. Lighting flickered intermittently. Cashin used remaining fleet credentials to bypass certain security layers. Every step brought us closer to the intelligence vault. I thought about the years I had trusted Illyra without question. That trust had been weaponized that we reached the data vault, and found Illyra waiting. She wasn't surprised. She admitted to orchestrating the breach. Her reasoning was cold but logical in her mind. The coalition had grown complacent. Fear would unify it. A visible betrayal would justify intelligence oversight. I was chosen because my reputation made the story believable. As agents moved to detain us, Tamsin triggered a system overload she had quietly planted. The overload forced emergency backups to broadcast across secured networks. Cashin rerouted the transmission to public channels before firewalls could suppress it. Raw footage and original authentication logs streamed across the capital. The manipulated timestamps became obvious. The replication authorization bore Illyra's signature. The narrative fractured in real time. Fleet divisions refused intelligence commands. Directorate agents hesitated. The authority that had seemed absolute just hours earlier began to dissolve. Illyra attempted to retreat but was detained by her own officers. Power built on deception is strong only while hidden. The justiciars reconvened under public scrutiny. My conviction was overturned. My rank restored. They offered promotion as compensation. I accepted with one condition: structural oversight reforms limiting unilateral intelligence authority. Trust must be protected, not exploited. Standing again in the same plaza where I had been condemned, I understood how fragile public perception could be. Reputation can be reversed in seconds. But truth, when revealed fully, is resilient. Cashin stood beside me once more, loyalty no longer questioned. We began implementing systemic safeguards: cross-branch verification, decentralized command authentication, transparent audit trails. Resistance came from those comfortable with centralized control. But enough officers had witnessed the near collapse to support change. A specialized task force formed to regulate identity replication technologies. Cashin oversaw tactical integration while independent engineers reviewed oversight frameworks. No single branch would hold unchecked authority again. That I never forgot. Exile. I redirected coalition resources to improve infrastructure on Carthos 9. Its citizens had survived without recognition for years. They deserved better. Exile had revealed truths about governance that power often conceals. Years later, historians called it a turning point for the coalition. For me, it remained personal. I had been framed as a traitor. Stripped of identity. Cast into isolation. But integrity doesn't depend on public approval. It depends on conviction. As my fleet traveled beyond the twin suns once more, I carried forward a simple lesson: authority must answer to truth. And vigilance is the cost of trust.